that the swoop was not to avenge the murder of Trooper Sheriff Imoro, he emphasized that the assignment operation was not the first of its kind, as the military had carried out similar operations in Kaswa in 2019 and 2020, respectively.
So let's also talk about the Interior Minister and the IGP, their testimony before the committee.
Well, now the Interior Minister, Ambrose Berry, informed the committee that internal security was the exclusive preserve of the Ghana Police Service. He said history would show that the Ghana Police Service had collaborated with the military on several occasions to enforce internal security. And now, he says the continuous capacity building of the Ghana Police Service has greatly impacted internal security. He went on to indicate that caution should be taken when dealing with security matters in order not to allow impunity to thrive. He assured the committee that the police would take up the matter to ensure that effective internal security is maintained. This is where the IGP also comes in. Now, the IGP indicated to the committee that they were informed of the operation by the military. However, the police requested for more collaboration to strategize. Nonetheless, the police did not interfere with the operation as it was wholly a military operation. The IGP informed the committee that investigations into the robbery incident that resulted in the death of the trooper was ongoing. Now, the accused, Samuel Tete and Abubakar, who admitted to killing deceased, because all of these incidents came about when Trooper Imoro Sheriff was killed. Now, these two accused admitted to killing the trooper, and they have been arrested and were on remand. It also informed to be a robbery incident where some valuables of the deceased were stolen. We are made to understand by the IGP that a total of 6 persons were arrested in connection with the incident, and the Ghana Police Service had adequately briefed the family of the deceased, Elton.
So what about recommendation that the committee is making to Parliament?
Well, there are a lot of recommendations that the committee has made for Parliament to consider. One, they say that persons brutalized by the military in Ashaiman on the 7th of March 2023 and who sustained various degrees of injury should be promptly and adequately compensated by the state. They go on to say that the compensation must be extended to cover those persons whose properties were destroyed in the course of the military coup. Again, the committee abhors any form of torturous handling of civilians by the military or any security services for that matter. The committee calls upon the leadership of the Ghana Armed Forces to educate their personnel on the legal demands and consequences of such act. The committee again goes on to recommend that soldiers who indulged in the excesses associated with the operation should be identified and dealt with in accordance with Section 32 of the Ghana Armed Forces Act 1962, that's Act 105, which stipulates that, quote, every person in the armed forces who behaves in a cruel or disgraceful manner shall be guilty of an offense and on conviction liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or to any less punishment provided by this act, unquote. So there's more for us to be seen here. Now, the committee again recommends that the National Security Council should ensure that there is collaboration and coordination among the security agencies in the country, particularly between the armed forces and the police service, in the execution of their functions and duties. The committee entreats the security services to follow their respective mandates as provided by the law. Now, the committee again emphasizes that the involvement of the military in internal security operations must be a last resort. The police must, in all instances, be the lead agency in internal security operations. Now, the effective coordination of intelligence must be promoted at the National Security Council level to prevent recurrence of such excesses. The committee recommends that the Ghana Armed Forces work towards improving their relationship with the public to engender trust and confidence in the populace. So these are the recommendations that the committee is making in a way to improve on security within the country.
Right, a very comprehensive work done there by the Committee on Defense and Interior. Thank you very much, Kojo Brace, for bringing us some aspects of the committee's work. Now, let me get some response. And the Member of Parliament for Ashaiman, Ernest Nogbe, joins me on the line. He joins me via Zoom. He is also a member of the Defense and Interior Committee, the committee that was set to investigate this matter. And this is their report. Honorable, you're welcome to the pause here on Joy News.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Right, so is it safe to assume that you are okay with the content of the committee's work?
Please come again. I didn't get you right there.
Right. I was asking whether it is safe for me to assume that you are satisfied with the work of the committee.
Well, exactly so. I'm so much happy about the committee's work because we did a diligent work. The members of the committee apprised themselves with the facts on the ground. The chairman of the committee, the vice chairman, the ranking member, we've all done our bit to make sure we contribute to what you are seeing in the report. But I am surprised that the report is out there. We laid the report on the floor of the House somewhere in December, early December or November, but as we speak now, it has not been debated yet. But be that is may, since it was laid on the floor, it means it's distributed to members, so you have every right to access it. But as I said earlier, as a member of Parliament for the Ashaiman constituency, I'm so much happy about the recommendations of the committee, and I can tell you on authority that we did not leave any stone unturned. We spoke. We have spoken to the police service, and we've also spoken to the victims on the ground. We even went to the scene to see exactly what went wrong. And so we did diligent work, and it was detailed. So I'm happy with the recommendations.
Okay, so but 3 months on, we will come to the details of what you have put in the documents, the demand for compensation, of course, the demand that the military officers who were involved should be identified and then go through the military lay-down rules in terms of how they discipline people who are found to have misconducted themselves. But let's talk about 3 months on. You've finished your work. It's been laid on the floor. It's yet to be taken for debate to ensue, and then the necessary resolutions passed. Why is it taking this long for this very important issue to be dealt with on the floor?
Well, that's another issue that we have to look at. Actually, I may not be in a position to tell you why it has taken this too long. I think before we went on recess, I drew the attention of the Speaker and then the majority leader on the floor of the House that the report had been laid and was going up and down on the order paper and then the business statement. Every week you see it, they'll program it on the order paper, but it will not be taken. It will come on Friday on the business statement. For the following week, it will not be taken. So it came to a time that the people of Ashaiman were up in arms, and as a member of Parliament, their representative, I drew the attention of the House, especially the Speaker, and then that of the majority leader to it, that it has been long overdue for us to take that report because the committee had finished it somewhere in October. Right. But somewhere in October, we were on holiday, so we could not lay it. So when we resumed, we laid it on the floor and had not been taken. So I may not be able to tell why it had not been taken. I'm very sure that when we resume this time on the 6th of February, Speaker will do something about it.
I know that Parliament, you are masters of your own rules, but this is a very sensitive matter, and one would assume that some seriousness or urgency will be attached to this matter.
Exactly so. That's what we were all expecting, because it's not only in Ashaiman. The committee was working on matters relating to the Kasua killing. I mean, the West Hill Mall issue. And then we were working on the Botiano matter as well. We had finished with all those documents. We had finished with the committee. The committee had finished with its work. So we are also worried because these are sensitive matters, and we want the military and then the police, the security services, and the civilians to be in time to work together. I mean, it doesn't lie in the bosom of Parliament or even the committee that the citizens or the residents of these areas being up in arm with the military high command or even the police or any other committee, because we all want security, we all want peace in this country. We are now entering into election year. So we would have wished, the committee would have wished, it was our worry that we would have wished that the report had been taken earlier on. But unfortunately, we will not be able to ascertain the reason why it had not been taken.
Right. Let me bring in Dr. Adams Bona. He's a security analyst. He's also joining us to explore the content of the committee's report that has been laid in Parliament, awaiting formal movement and debate on it. Dr. Bona, you're welcome to the polls.
Thank you very much.
Right. Let me pick your initial reaction to the work done by the Defense and Interior Committee on this matter. Then we delve into the recommendations. You heard the Member of Parliament, a member of the committee. They laid this in October. They are masters of their own rules. There has been times that they go to Parliament. There wasn't much to do yet. Movement has yet to be done on this report. Your initial reaction?
Well, what I would say, well, the committee, they've done quite a good job in trying to piece together what happened. Is going to the scene of the incidents and speaking to some of the residents and engaging some of the people who, in fact, were directly, assaulted or they were beaten. They've done quite a good job. But my worry now is that, that somewhere, if you look at the recommendations, I think first on that, on top of it has to do with compensation, rightly so. But as we speak, how many years down the line, Ayawaso West Wuogon victims, this was a public, inquiry, that was put together by the president. Unfortunately, victims of Ayawaso West Wuogon, who are supposed to have been compensated, how many years down the line? They have not been compensated. But I must also say that Ejura victims have been compensated. I think so. And so it is worrying, especially when we know that 2024 is an election year, and therefore there will be a lot of up and down movement by the executive and, in fact, the legislative arm of government. So I would have wished that the moment this thing got to Parliament, they would have prioritized it, ensure that some of the recommendations, or they would have seen to it that either they put it before the House, so that the House debated whatever outcome it is. They let all of us know, so that it doesn't become one of the committee reports that does not see the light of day, even though it's been presented. But I would say quite impressive, just that I think the committee could have done a good job with regards to compensation. We said promptly, promptly can be 10 years, even though the word prompt means immediately. Promptly can be 10 years. So I would usually prefer to give some timelines. You say, okay, the moment the House finishes work on it, maybe so and so time. You set some parameters and say the victims should be compensated. I think there are a few of them I will talk about how the compensation progresses.
Exactly, and because you brought in the issue of compensation, let me bring in Honorable Ernest Nogbe. He's a member of the committee and the MP for the area. In the report, you identified 247 people. You say that these were individuals who were attacked or brutalized by the military. Some got injured. We understand that some have even died. In terms of compensation, is it your understanding that until Parliament passes a resolution which may lead to possibly set up of an ad hoc committee, that matter cannot be discussed now? Honorable Nogbe, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Yeah, so I was asking, Dr. Bona brought in the issue of compensation. And looking at the report, you concluded that 247 people were injured in the process. We understand that some have even died. And I was asking, the committee failed to come to a conclusion on the matter of compensation. Is it your understanding that until Parliament passes a resolution on your report, which may lead to the setup of an ad hoc committee, the matter of compensation cannot be discussed now?
Well, rightly so. There are two things here. We could have gone to the court to enforce whatever, compensation we demanded for our victims. But now that it is before the House, we need to debate it so that the House will adopt it. Then the Speaker can even direct. All that were not captured. I heard Mr. Bonner talking about the time frame. Speaker can direct that even it should be done within 2 weeks, 1 month, or 3 months. Speaker can direct, which was not captured in the report, but it's a directive from the Speaker.
But did you consider it at all? Did you consider it at all? Here. Did you consider possibly?
Yeah, we considered. We considered a whole lot of things because one, it's not only a chairman. He rightly mentioned some areas of Ayawaso West Wagon, incidents in some areas. Hello?
Yes, please go on.
And some other areas, but we considered it. But in all aspects, in all this, you have a member of parliament or you have a representative of the people in all these areas. So be that is me. If the report is saying that there should be a compensation promptly, it is left with the representative or the people to make sure that compensation is enforced. So as soon as Parliament adopts the report, and then the Speaker direct that ad hoc committee be formed so that they look at the quantum of compensation for each and every degrees of injuries. Some people lost even properties, some people bodily injuries, some people, psychological trauma. Looking at the various degrees of injuries and then the quantum of the that it's not done within a specific period of time, we can go to the law court to enforce it, the human rights court to enforce it.
Sure. Let me bring in Dr. Dr. Let's look at the other recommendation that the committee came up with, and they established that indeed the operation was sanctioned by the Military High Command, and the reason being that it was based on intelligence that had been gathered because the area had been turned into headquarters of criminal activities in the area, and the fact that the military officer died in the process, they needed to act. And then said that the military should go ahead and identify the officers who were involved in the operation and punish them in line with the military-owned standard. Question is, somebody sanctioned them. The CDS may have been the one. Why not go straight and say that the CDS should be held responsible for what happened at Ashaiman, instead of saying that we should identify the military officers who were only acting on command?
Exactly. When your producer called me, these were my observations. Because mine is that a military officer will not just act just like that. And so somebody would have directed them, somebody would have instructed them to go into the area to do what they do, to conduct the operations. So if the operations led to excesses, you go for the person who did that, and then that person, if that person is so minded, going by their own training and operational manuals, they would see who and who misconducted, who and who performed not according to their, standard, operational methods. Then these people can be punished. But as it is now, you know what happened in the Aswansi 7. The Aswansi 7, when some police officers gunned down some innocent people in 2019 or wherever.
Yes, and paraded them as armed robbers.
And paraded them, and to the extent that they even came out and put some weapons on them. When a committee was set up, it was all lies. You see, it was difficult to identify, to say who were the shooters in terms of among the police officers who conducted that operation. Therefore, even though compensations have been paid to the victims' families, when a committee report like this comes out, I think that it is always important to highlight and take precedents into consideration and say, in Aswansi incident, the reason why no one was punished was because the report did not recommend to hold whoever sent these officers on that particular deadly patrols responsible. Therefore, you can only, let the entire team go. And so I would have wanted them to be specific. So whoever directed them should be held responsible. Then if that person is so minded, that person would also hold the officers who are on the ground responsible. And so this is something that I would have wanted them to do. I don't know whether it is late. I'm sure when it gets to the plenary, it gets to the House, the debate probably would amend portions of the report if it is possible. The other thing I also noticed was where they said military officers should be educated on human rights, methods and all that.
Right.
It is good. I would have wanted them to say, because then it is difficult to say, let's get the Ghana police educated on human rights and rule of law, constitutional matters. I would have wanted to see something like adding it to their training manuals, human rights activity, human rights, the right of Ghanaians, or human rights training should be part of their training manuals. Constitutionalism should be part of their training manuals, and letting them know the rule of law, how the rule of law must work. But mine is that I think somewhere in the report they highlighted, I think is it the Interior Minister and the Interior Minister,
right,
who specifically mentioned rightly that internal security at every given point in every democracy, including ours, I'm paraphrasing, remains within the police. It's something that the police takes care of in a country like ours. And so mine is that you also see somewhere in the report, I think is it the IGP?
Yeah, it is the IGP who said they had to move away because the military was involved.
They were notified, but they were not part of the actual operations. I have had challenges with such operations where the police is not involved. And my reason is that the military doesn't have prosecutorial powers, just as the national security. So if institutions that do not have prosecutorial powers undertake such operations, you are now going to gather evidence, arrest suspects. Do you know what will constitute evidence that can be adduced in court to prosecute somebody? Maybe you don't, because you have not been taken through processes in terms of processes and the evidence taken and all that. And so I would have wanted the report to also highlight the fact that it is sacrilegious for the military alone to conduct internal swoops such as these without the involvement of the police, because and you remember when this thing was undertaken, I think that somehow they were kept even away from the police. That way, we all know the 1992 Constitution, the Criminal Offences Act, Act 29, talks about citizens' arrest.
Right. Citizens'
arrest means, and it is highlighted, where private citizens can conduct an arrest. But over there, it says specifically that when a citizen effect an arrest, immediately the person should be sent to the police. That same law within the Act 29 says that the crime should have been committed in front of you if you are a private citizen. So when soldiers are conducting swoops such as this, when the police is not there and the crime has already taken place, in the law sees them as private citizens. And so mine is that they undertook something that, if you ask me, legally and constitutionally, I will tell you that we have accepted these as conventions.
Right.
But I must admit that we must learn moving forward so that those who commit crimes, when the soldiers have to aid the police to do swoops, the police must always be there so that they catch them with the evidence, gather the evidence, and prosecute them
right.
by the law. Because I must say that I don't know whether, and let me say,
and I can get some reaction.
That morning raid, I think the police had already arrested some of the key suspects.
In fact, two of them.
Those key suspects, yes, I don't know whether that morning raid has led to any identification of some of the people who were beaten to be primary suspects in the killing of the unfortunate killing of the trooper.
All right.
I think these are questions we should be asking.
Of course. Thank you very much, Dr. Adams-Bona. This is The Pulse with me, Elton Broby. And this is your election headquarters. Your election headquarters is what you have, Petrosol. Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Now, let's dive into other political issues and what could be seen as a morale booster for the opposition NDC and John Mahama. United Kingdom-based research and data firm Fitch Solution is predicting electoral victory for John Mahama in the December 7 presidential election. Fitch, in its latest publication on election and race-related issues in Africa, says the current state of the economy will play a significant role in the choice of voters in December. In a webinar to announce the outcome of the latest research, senior sub-Saharan African country risk analyst Mike Kuringa says their findings put the NDC's candidate ahead of Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who is also the MPP's flag bearer.
As you can see, overall, we expect policy continuity to prevail in the region, with most incumbents winning and retaining their majorities. That said, however, we do forecast important changes in key markets such as South Africa and Ghana. In Ghana, likewise, we believe anger over living standards is giving opposition candidate John Mahama a lead in the polls. This marks a shift away from the incumbent's preferred successor, that being current Vice President Bawumia. So again, overall, although we do expect policy continuity to prevail, some important changes will occur, and we'll be monitoring these closely.
So the question is, what are the factors working against the MPP? Here again is Mike Kuringa.
So while the Ghanaian government has confirmed its commitment to implementing fiscal reforms in the 2024 budget, we anticipate significant public expenditure overruns ahead of the December election, particularly given that the ruling New Patriotic Party, or the NPP, trails behind in the polls. So since the start of the century, so since the year 2000, public expenditure as a share of GDP increased by an average of 3 percentage points during election years, as you can see on the left-hand side chart. And I think this really reflects the government's tendency to, for example, subsidize utilities or implement social welfare programs, really to garner public support in the run-up to general elections. So while these expected expenditure overruns will lead to a widening of the budget deficit in 2024, it will also support households financially, so driving up domestic demand that way and also supporting headline economic growth. So in terms of the other part of your question on who is most likely to win the December vote, our core view remains that the opposition National Democratic Congress, or the NDC, is best placed to secure a victory. So looking at polling data, it appears that the economy and economic management will take center stage for voters during the election, which will inevitably give the opposition NDC an advantage because the recent economic downturn happened under NPP leadership. In addition to that, recent polls around voting intentions give John Mahama, the leader of the NDC, a favorable lead, as you can see on the right-hand side chart here. So further supporting our view that an NDC victory is most likely in December.
We do see security risks increasing, as I say, specifically concentrated in the Western Sahel, specifically the countries of Mali and Burkina Faso. So as a little bit of context, over the past 10 years, these Sahelian countries have become really the global flashpoint for Islamic insurgencies, and this presents clear risks for neighboring countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin. Now, we believe these risks will be compounded by the removal of UN peacekeeping forces from Mali in 2024, which is likely to create a power vacuum in the region, which we believe militant groups are likely to compete for and fill, creating clear spillover effects and negatively impacting some of the region's fastest growing countries, like, for example, Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana. So overall, we believe that West Africa will be an important monitoring point for security risks in 2024.
So the latest opinion poll by Global Info Analytics for the 2024 election placed John Mahama in the lead with 53.2%, whilst Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is around 29.6%. Let's analyze this. And joining us via Zoom, the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa. Mr. Dankwa, you're welcome to the pulse. If you can unmute for me. Right, so Mr. Dankwa, if you can unmute for me.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
So again, let me just put on record that the Fitch Solutions latest report, that they had a webinar on it last night, credit you for some of the work that they put out there, that your work is part of what they put together, that they came to the conclusion that the NDC candidate, as we speak, is likely to win the 2024 election. But let me ask you, what would you say is working for the NDC ahead of the December elections?
There are two things mainly that is driving John Mahama's lead in the poll. And as Fitch mentioned, the economy. And those who said economy is the number one issue for them, 54% of them are voting for John Mahama, and 26% are voting for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, 8% for Alan Kyerematen, and 12% are thinking of voting someone else. And then on the issue of jobs, which are the number two, or in fact, that's the number one issue in Ghana now, those who said jobs are key for them, 53% of them are voting for John Mahama, compared with 26% for Bawumia and 9% for Alan Kyerematen. 13% said someone else. So these are the two reasons that makes John Mahama the favorite to win the 2024 elections.
Right. So let's reverse a little on the economy. The conclusion of Fitch is that the government is likely to do a lot of things that may have impact on the economy. They claim that the government may look at electricity subsidy, the thing that things may begin to normalize. Already we are seeing inflation come down, and the exchange rate has also stabilized. So there's been some kind of a revived hope in the output of the economy. And their conclusion is that it may significantly improve from now to December 24. Would that have any bearing on the outcome?
Not fundamentally. If you look at voters who we spoke to last time, almost 70% of them said they made up their mind. 70%, and that's quite huge. Even about 16% said yes, they may change their mind, and another 14% saying that they are neutral about changing their mind. So if we have a situation where people who are going to vote are entrenched on their choices, it makes it really, really hard for them to take into account things that are improving along the line. But certainly there are those who will be swayed by changing economic conditions.
So did your research focus mainly on floating voters, or these are people who in previous elections have voted for both parties?
No, in fact, we don't focus on floating, we focus on Ghanaians.
I only ask because, you know, the MPP and the NDC, they are all laying claim to 5 million voters. And they say that no matter what, no matter how bad they do, they will maintain their 5 million. Now, how they are able to move to the 50+1 depends on floating voters. That's why I asked that question.
Okay. Let me put this into context. If you take party affiliation into account, 68% of voters who are MPP intend to vote for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. 68%. You have another about maybe 18% who want to vote for Mahama, who are MPP. And about 2% who are MPP are voting for Alan Kyerematen.
Why?
So MPP has lost its core base.
And what is the reason for this?
Economy, jobs. It's the same issues, economy and the job issues. The same issues. And then when you look at floating voters, Mahama is leading 53% among floating voters. Bawumia is around 21% or so, and Alan around 18%. So the key block here, which is the floating voters, Mahama is having a very good lead. And among those who are NDC, Mahama is attracting 95% of NDC.
But can anything change from now to December? Or does Orisa say that Mahama can go home, sleep, and hoping to wake up in 2025 as the elected president?
No, anything can change in election. But what moves election at the moment will be the economic condition of people and the living standard of people. If the standard of living improves significantly, you may see tightening in the poll numbers, but will not be enough to overturn what we are seeing in the poll. They will close the gap, but very difficult for them to win at the moment.
What about the Alan Shermanton factor in the elections?
It is very important that Alan Shermanton factor is really hurting NPP rather than the NDC. Because if you look at NDC is winning 95% of its base, whereas NPP at the moment is winning 68%. A chunk of them are voting for Alan, and another chunk are voting for NDC. Now, for Alan to really make an impact, he needs to make inroads not just in NPP, but also from NDC and also the voting voters. At the moment, he's yet to do that.
The MPP is going into to elect their parliamentary candidates in places that they're already holding on to the seat. So you are safe to say that these are safe seats that they are contested. Will the outcome have any effects on how the party galvanizes its base ahead of election? Because some people have said that the 2024 election will be won in parliament. Whoever is able to win more seats is likely to form the next government. Well, what will happen over the weekend have any impact on how the party positions have ahead of 2024, depending on people they elect?
Yes, in fact, we do have some initial numbers about voting intention for parliamentary seats.
Okay. And
at the moment, they are behind by almost 20-something percentage point. Now, if they go and elect people who are not popular, come tomorrow, that would exacerbate their situation in the polls. But if they're able to remove some of those unpopular guys from their constituencies, that would help them galvanize their base a bit.
All right. Mr. Adamka, thank you very much. I know that we'll be talking more on these matters in the months and weeks to follow, because we have a lot more politics to do in this year of 2024. Thank you very much and have a lovely weekend. Right, let's just stay with your election headquarters brought to you by Petrosol, because electors in the Asante Achem South constituency in the Asante region are anticipating the election of a parliamentary candidate who would lobby more developmental projects to the area. The constituency considered the gateway to the Ashanti region years for a major facelift. The constituents are prevailing on delegates in the MPP's parliamentary primary to vote for a developmental-oriented candidate. There is more in this report.
The Asante Achem South constituency is deemed as the gateway to the Ashanti region from Ghana's southeast regions, but the constituency is stunted in development. Over 800 delegates in the region are expected to hit the polls on Saturday to elect a candidate to lead the NPP in the 2024 parliamentary election. Incumbent Member of Parliament Kweku Asante Boateng is seeking re-election for the fourth time, but he will face off Bice Osei-Kuffour and Eric Amufa. Some delegates in the area argue the incumbents must be given another term.
Na ifi se delegate ni ifi se the lawyer Kweku Asante Boateng kano ensemo mu do a ifi se ta na chi na yakoye ni ma ifi se dachi bia na ebeboa ye enti Asante Achem de decide begu titru begu ene nimpote mu ka ho no imse lawyer Kweku Asante Boateng no we adwuma pa na ebeta na chi
lawyer Kweku Asante Boateng enyuma wa ye no ebi wo ho a onwie ya obese wo wie edema ye
aha ye nyina ni mse Asante Boateng adwuma wura ye nyina de adwuma na ebetima ye adwuma gade tin ye me ye sure say o me nyina beto aba na Asante Boateng.
In the 2020 parliamentary primary, Mr. Asante Boateng was fiercely contested by Managing Director of Ghana Post, Bice Osei-Kuffour. But Obuo, as he is popularly known, lost the election by 58 votes. Bice Osei-Kuffour says the constituency needs a new face.
I believe strongly that as an educated person who have also had the opportunity to serve in government as a managing director of Ghana Post, if I am elected as a member of parliament, there will be no lapse or there will be no vacuum that lawyer is providing that I will not be able to fill. To delegates of Asante Achem South, I make a very humble appeal to you. That has been 12 years that we have tried our sitting MP. It's about time you give another person an opportunity to also bring his prowess and his ideas to bear. I present to you myself, Vice Obon Osekufo. For you as a delegate, a lot are in stock for you. I am presenting the Asante Achem South Delegates Welfare Fund, a fund that is going to help delegates in their daily activities. I'm also presenting to you that for every electoral area, when I am member of parliament, I'm going to bring one development project, one job opportunity, and also bring initiatives that will grow the community.
Amid the intense clash emerges Eric Amofa, believed to be the dark horse in the race.
I'm the right person to lead the constituency.
He contested in the 2020 parliamentary primary but lost to the two leading contenders. Eric Amofa is convinced his campaign message as a unifier will pull more votes for the party in the general elections.
From the first month after Eric Amofa wins, we are going to do unity conference, right? Unity conference in Asante Achem South. And this unity conference, we are going to bring all the police stations at one place. We are going to bring all the former MPs, former constituency executives, all people from Asante Achem South in government. To bring all together to come out with a plan that we are going to, execute the 2024 Breaking the Eight agenda. And I know it will happen.
In the heat of campaigning, the electorates in the constituency are hoping delegates would elect the right candidates to rope in more development to the area.
The Western region now, and there's been a good grounds for the governing New Patriotic Party over the years, but the last election in 2020 was one that did not go as planned for the party. With a little over 24 hours for them to elect new parliamentary candidates, we put the spotlight on some of the hotspots in the region. Kojo Brace has more.
The party has had some fairly good results from the Western region for some time now. The party says it hopes to deepen its hold on the region ahead of the 2024 elections in the lead up to their primaries on Saturday to elect the men and women who would help them achieve this. 4 constituencies have become the hotbeds in the region: Shama, Eskado Keten, Efia, and Kwesimintim. In Shama, it is always difficult for a sitting MP to get a second chance, but the incumbent MP, Samuel Erickson Abeka, says he will change the trend by getting a second nod at the MPship. But he's facing off stiff opposition from a former DCE, lawyer Joseph Amwa, and a successful businessman in the area, CEO of Lower Rural Bank, Isaac Affle, someone regarded as a developmental agent in the constituency. In the Eskado Keten constituency, the incumbent, Joe Gate, is not seeking re-election. Former Regional Secretary Charles Bisu is confident of winning the contest because, to him, he is the most experienced person to replace Joe Gate.
What Honorable Joe Gate has done for this constituency, if you go to Parliament, out of the 10 best constituencies in Parliament, Eskado Keten is one of them. There's no doubt about it. Former Deputy Attorney General, Railways Minister, Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. So the experience is enormous. So that seat, the seat Eskado Keten cannot be joked with. Now, if you're taking somebody, then you need somebody with experience. I am not saying that I'm a better person because I do not downgrade people. But what I have done in the region, I managed 26 constituencies when we had 8 out of 26 seats. NEC had 18. As the regional secretary, I worked with the team. We are next 8 more. In my second term, I maintained majority for the MPP. So it means being a national council member with experience. I believe that I match that. And we are not going to start all over again for Eskado. We need somebody with track record. And I did my work with results.
Now let's look at preparations ahead of tomorrow's parliamentary primaries in some 104 constituencies that the MPP is holding. The Director of Elections and Research of the MPP, Evans Nimako, joins me via Zoom. Mr. Nimako, Good evening and welcome to the Pulse. At this very moment, I think that you are so stressed. Tell me how things are ahead of Saturday.
Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers across the world. I think that the party has put in place enough mechanism to ensure that come tomorrow, we are able to organize a very successful, transparent, and credible constituency annual delegate conference that will elect for us our parliamentary candidates in these constituencies where we have certain members of parliament. I think from the very moment that the party opened nomination, when nominations were closed, to when we started closed vetting, the party put in place the Osei Prempeh National Parliamentary Appeals Committee that engaged all those who felt that one or the other, the vetting committee did not treat them well. The report of both the Appeals Committee and the vetting committee were considered by the National Executive Committee, after which the General Secretary issued the list that were approved by the National Executive Committee. But very few of our colleagues who have shown interest to participate in this exercise were advised by the National Executive Committee that they cannot be part of this exercise. Going forward, we've engaged with the Ghana Police Service, the Electoral Commission, and we are expected to have a very successful conference because all that has to be done in terms of election-related responsibilities are in the care of the Electoral Commission of Ghana. All security arrangements are in the care of the Ghana Police Service. Beyond this, the General Secretary has issued out the 32-paragraph protocols that have to be respected by both our delegates and our parliamentary aspirants. We're saying this because we want to have a very successful program that at the end of the exercise, the New Patriotic Party will remain very united to support our presidential candidate, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to beat the NDC's candidates, Mr. Mahama, once again. We've been into several elections with him, 2012, 2016, and 2020. And once again, we're going to floor him in 2024. This requires of us that we will come out in this whole exercise very united, focused in our orientation, to reach out to all the voters on the register so that come December 7, 2024, majority of them will vote for Dr. Bawumia for him to constitute government.
All right, Mr. Malcolm, update us on. So yesterday we knew of 104 constituents. At this one we are told that there's been injunction on some of the constituents. So how many constituencies are you holding election tomorrow? We understand Mampong is out, Akuapem South is out. Give us the latest update.
So as we speak, the Office of the General Secretary has been served with the court injunction from Mampong constituency, Binduri constituency, and Aguna West. Then in Akuapem South constituency, where one candidate, Honorable Obi Amwa, decided not to continue in the exercise, wrote to the party about his withdrawal. Flowing from that, the constituency party and the regional party in Eastern Region submitted petition to the General Secretary, upon which the National Party has directed that election in New Japan in Akuapem South will not come up tomorrow. So as we speak, we are going to have elections in 100 constituencies which will go into competitive contest. We have also 33 constituencies where
they're going out of polls.
There will be acclamation for those who will candidate after the close of nomination. They're going on the poll. So that is what we have as of now. But my brother, let me also let you know that the party has really put in place enough mechanism for party people who felt aggrieved, one or the other, to submit their concerns to the party. But if it is a bit worrying, if at this last minute, some party people will choose to go to court and enjoin the party's process, Mind you, it's just that they have filed injunction process, not that the court has really, ordered injunction. But MPP is law abiding. So once the office of the General Secretary has been served, you respect the court's decision. The national chairman has issued a goodwill message to all candidates. We expect that the protocols given by the General Secretary will be respected by our parliamentary candidates and our supporters. Our delegates are party leaders in the constituency. You are looking at polling station executives, electoral area coordinators, constituency executives, representatives from the Council of Elders and patrons. And so these are people who have been given the responsibility by the party at the constituency level to constitute the delegates that will elect for us our parliamentary candidate.
And you are hopeful, Mr. DeMarco, you are hopeful that these matters will be resolved before the EC opens nominations, because we are in 2024, we are no longer in 2023. You don't have so much time on your hand.
We don't have too much time, but we are also not in a rush. If you look at the constitution, before a parliamentary candidate is elected or selected, the person will have to satisfy the constituency party, regional party, and national party. So when there's a concern or petition from the constituency and regional party, it serves everybody right for the party to hasten slowly. So what has happened in Kapim South is not out of ordinary. Those who have elected to go to court, i.e. Bindui constituency, Mampong constituency, and Aguna West constituency, those party people will go through with the court issue. Once they fail to assess the party's internal mechanism of resolving their concerns, I think when we are done, the party also reserves the right to give them the appropriate sanctions.
All right. Mr. DeMarco, let me ask a final question so that I can let you go. I also have in the studio your namesake, Evans Mensah, head of our political desk. And we'll look into your election headquarters preparation for tomorrow. But Mr. DeMarco, your general secretary this week was emphatic. There will be no campaigning, no speeches, and more importantly, no campaign. And we know for sure that from now to tomorrow morning, this is where the real action is. And people obviously may be camped whichever way you look at it, whichever description you want to give it. How are you ensuring that the guidelines that you provided will be respected and that the process will be free and fair, that whoever is elected will be elected on merit and not because of financial influence?
What the General Secretary said is the position of the party. That's why we are urging all delegates, all candidates to respect the protocols that the party has given. We are also mindful of the Political Party Act that frowns upon treating. And I'm saying that if you look at this stage where the party constitution gives the responsibility to our executives at the constituency, it is an honor for them to conduct themselves in a manner that the new patriotic party will obtain political capital than any other thing. And so we are ensuring that we comport ourselves within the confines of the law. Mind you, the party will not hesitate to sanction anybody who flout the law. That's why beyond the party's constitution, there has been guidelines, there have been rules, and there have been protocols. And we've done all this with the police and with the EC. And so we don't want anybody to give us the opportunity to apply the rules within our circles.
All right, thank you very much. Evans DeMarco is the Director of Elections with the governing MPP, and he's been sharing with us the plan and the preparation towards the party's this weekend's parliamentary primaries in some 103 constituency. But you heard him, the issue of campaign.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's going to go away?
No,
somebody was telling me, an aspirant, who said he's going into this weekend election with at least 5 million Ghana cedis on him. And he told me that if he's unable to raise 5 million Ghana cedis, that will be a loss for him.
Because he knows that the other contenders possibly are also doing a minimum of 5 or more. So if you don't reach 5 million, then you know you're possibly losing the election.
And one also told me that for them, the delegates, they made it clear to him, 30,000 Ghana cedis each or no vote. And there are 1,200 delegates in this constituency.
The truth is, 24 hours before any poll in this country, before within the parties themselves, or the political party primaries, that's where we see the heaviest movement of cash. That's where we see the campaign. In fact, 24 hours and then the dawn of the election day itself, sometimes shortly before the polls start. I'll tell a story. There was one of the parliamentary primaries where I had just, after the morning session here, between 7 and 9, I had gone to have breakfast. And while I was having breakfast, it was full of party folks. And I happened to sit in front of a group who were behind me, a lot of them. And they had come there because one of the candidates was camping them at that particular hotel. Right. And so they were waiting for the candidate to come. The candidate didn't come himself. I sent a surrogate, somebody who, of course, he had given money to come and share. And then they moved not too far from where I was sitting and to the corner where openly sharing the money. And they were talking about this candidate and what we're going to do. Some of them had come from far away from the north to Accra to come and take their share. Huge numbers of delegates in that particular room that day. This is what happens 24 hours before the poll. In fact, before the polls, in fact, if we're doing scientific polling, we would have possibly found out many instances where candidates were leading in the polls and lost on the day.
Exactly.
And possibly lost overnight into the election day itself. So we're expecting this to happen. Will they camp them? People are becoming a bit more savvy.
In terms of how they go about this.
More sophisticated in how they handle this particular matter. They may not put all of them in the room, but there will be clusters of delegates who will be met. You have to send sometimes your most trusted generals to go and meet them and sort them out. That is how the game is played. The party knows that. That is why they issued this directive. But we know it will happen.
It won't happen. I remember the Delegates Congress that brought Justin Kodia to power. You remember it delayed for several hours.
Yeah, that's the primary exactly. About.
And the reason is that the delegates said they were not going to come to the Accra Sports Center unless they were motivated in a way that was going to compare them to
that is the election I was referring to, and it was fascinating. Some of them were sharing pounds because some of the delegates had traveled from UK. Some were sharing dollars because some of the delegates had come from the US. And we're going to see that happen tomorrow.
In fact, somebody is promising half plot each here in the Greater Accra region.
Well, tonight I've seen TV sets branded in the image of a particular aspirant in a constituency. So this is definitely going to happen. But because of the vigilance that we showed in the last elections when they did the parliamentary primary in the orphan constituencies, where we had very compelling visual evidence of individuals who had been given money. Some of the envelopes that we saw and filmed had the image of one of the aspirants on it. And subsequently, when we followed him and tracked him down, he actually admitted. And we know, subsequent to that, the special prosecutor had invited those that we saw on our television and declared them wanted. I believe because of that, we're going to see a bit more sophistication tomorrow. And that is why the campaign will happen, but it won't happen the way we expect it to happen, where you can go to one location and find everybody there that is easy to determine and sanction.
I understand that some of the security agencies that are into some of these investigations, what I've picked is that they intend to deploy a lot of people you would not suspect that they are working for security agents, just to pick hardcore evidence so that they can use it to prosecute those who will be who may attempt to use money and other influences to gain their way through in the weekend. But what is our plan tomorrow?
So tomorrow we start at 7. And we're going to be doing this from some 7 all the way till when we are confident that we have all the constituencies in terms of the outcome. We're expecting casualties. We're expecting significant casualties. Giants will definitely fall, and this is the place to be when it happens, when a giant falls. When I mean a giant falls, I'm talking about incumbents. Look, we're also expecting some, not only sitting members of parliament, but ministers. Who will lose their seats tomorrow. And so we've positioned ourselves where, of course, we deploy based on intelligence.
Right.
You're part of the planning. We deploy based on intelligence. And our deployment has been done very carefully. So when it happens, we don't only report it, but we give you the actual reactions from the ground. And we're going to be doing a lot of that from 7. We start with the analysis, obviously, which is what we do. We deploy our team of researchers across this country, and they're going to come in with data. We're not just going to talk. We're going to show you on our touch screens here what we believe will happen in certain constituencies, backed by data, so you can see and you can follow us, so you can make sense when the outcome. When we get the outcome, what the results are in at 2. And the party decided to do this between 7 and 2. So it's good for us.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of time to
analyze. I'm very, very certain that by 6 p.m., which is 4 hours after 2, we will have all the results in. All the results. If you're using, for example, the orphan constituencies as a mark, as a measure of what might happen, while it was after it was done, within 1 or 2 hours, we had more than 85% of the results in. So we expect that to happen. So in the morning, we start with that. The party, Evans Demako will join us because we want to lay the foundations for our coverage. He's the man leading the elections. The election
organization.
He will join us in the studio. Myself and Winston Raymond Aqua will be here to do the analysis in the morning. And of course, our correspondents across the country will also be joining us from wherever they are with the incidents reporting, etc. Of course, we have Newsfile that is going to also take over with a special focus on elections. And then later, we're going to be deploying the heavyweights. The big guns from the party will join us. We have Joe Owusu,
the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. He's no longer contesting for the Bekwai seat.
But the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Will join us. And he's not going. He's one of those big names who decided to voluntarily step away from Parliament. And so he's free tomorrow. Right. And he decided to come and join the election headquarters. So he's going to be our guest. We'll also have Samuel Atacha. As you know,
he's also not contesting the Bokanov again.
Exactly. So he's also going to be our guest tomorrow. And we'll have Stephen Asamoah Boateng also join us, the Chieftaincy Minister.
Former MP.
Former MP. He recently attempted to, of course,
to try and rebury Atamils.
Exactly. So he will also going to join us. The reason why we are bringing these incumbents who are retiring from Parliament is the knowledge, the intimate understanding of the game, talking about the voting tomorrow, what may happen, to bring us, give us meaning to what we see. So we just don't want to cover the elections. We want you to make sense of it, right? We ourselves know a fair bit, but you cannot know the MPP politics than George Owusu. You cannot know MPP politics than Samuel Atacha. You cannot know MPP politics than Stephen Asamoah Boateng. And that's why we are adopting that approach, where they will join us as the results are coming in. They will be giving us the backstory to what we are beginning to see.
Right. So, folks, you don't want to miss this. And clearly, this is your election headquarters. There's a reason it is called the election headquarters. And, of course, it's brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. At 7 a.m., we are on. We are on till all the results are in. This is the pause. We'll take a short break, and we shall be back.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow! It has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank, ɛyɛ strong, ɛyɛ tough.
For crystal clear and thrilling podcast and live shows, download and listen to us on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, MyJoy Online, Amazon services like Echo, Amazon Music, and Audible, Stitcher, Adom Online, Overcast, and Pandora. Take note of everything. Sign up for the multimedia digital platforms now to stay updated.
We've had news file over the weekend, and an interesting part of the conversation focused.
Oh no, we are out of range.
Oh, don't worry, Daddy. I have Alexa in my bag.
Alex, what?
Alexa, open Multimedia Ghana and play Joy FM.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Listen to Joy FM, Hits FM, Love FM, live on your Amazon Echo. Listen to your favorite multimedia radio stations live on your Amazon Echo device by saying, Alexa, open Multimedia Ghana, play Joy FM or Hits FM or Love FM. Or catch up on your favorite podcast by saying, Alexa, play, and then the name of your favorite podcast from Multimedia Ghana. For a list of all podcasts available, say Alexa. Ask Multimedia Ghana to browse programs.
On air. And we are back like we never lost signal.
Alexa, welcome to Multimedia.
Welcome back and to some other stories. And the United Kingdom is set to send some of Ghana's crown jewels back home 150 years after looting them from the court of the Asante King. The gold artifacts will be loaned to Ashanti Kingdom following a 3-year agreement with Otumfuo said to the second Asante Henry.
32 looted golden artifacts displayed in UK museums have been scheduled for return to Ghana. Most of the items which are to be loaned to its custodial owners were taken during the 19th century wars between the British and the Asante. The items included a golden pipe, sword of state, and gold badges worn by officials charged with cleansing the soul of the king. Both the UK and the Asantehene have reached a 3-year agreement where the loaned artifact will be displayed in the Mencha Palace Museum as part of the Asantehene Silver Jubilee celebration. The agreement is subject to 3 years extension, after which they will be repatriated to the UK museums. The UK is deliberately refusing to permanently return stolen artifacts in their custody to their countries of origin, hence the enactment of legislation to protect them. The decision has been met with criticisms from a section of the Ghanaian public. The Asante gold artifacts are the ultimate symbol of the Asante royal government and are believed to be invested with the spirit of former Asante kings.
So let's hear the backstory, because the man who led the negotiation with the UK is Ivor Ajimandua. He joins me on the telephone for some discussions on this. Mr. Ajimandua, you're welcome to the Pulse here on Joy News. Mr. Ajimandua, if you can unmute for me.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Ajimandua, thank you very much for joining us here on the Pulse on Joy News. And it's good to see you. The last time we actually spent time together was, I guess, 2023 or 2013 or 2014, it's the Seychelles. Is that right?
Yes, it's been a while.
You've
been following these issues for some time now.
Yeah.
So I do remember our Seychelles encounter.
Yes, so it's good to see you, and a Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Happy New Year to you too.
So how long did the negotiation last?
It took 9 months from May of last year to recently 2 weeks ago or so.
So now the talk is over. When are we likely to see these artifacts back in the country?
It should be sometime in April, between April and May.
All right. So how do you react to a section of the public who feel the UK should rather return the stolen items in their custody rather than what we are hearing that you are loaning it for us for 3 years? This belongs to the Asante Kingdom, if you like.
Yes, I think it's a legitimate thing for people to ask. These were looted items, 1874, 150 years old items. So there is a form of a legitimacy when people question the basis of these objects coming home and coming home as loaned items. So it's legitimate, but then we've been talking about these issues of the objects for over 50 years, half a century, made requests over the years, negotiated at some point, and we're still where we were until recently that we reached this agreement. So those have been the issues. We have always had the historical antecedents on our side, but then there is the 1983 laws of antiquity in the UK by the House of Commons, sanctioned by the House of Lords, that make it very difficult for objects to be permanently taken back to the countries of their origin. And this had always been the constraining factor that sort of stood between our position and the British government. And it's not just us, but all the former colonies and all the geographic areas that have objects and other art instruments with the British Museum.
So therefore, after 3 years, it will be taken back to the United Kingdom?
The agreement is 3 years, renewable by another 3 years. But even after the maximum of 6 years, you can still negotiate for extension. So it's not just 3 years, renewable by another 3 years. There can still be negotiation for extension beyond the 6 years.
But it's interesting. I mean, you look at this scenario. You stole something from me. I managed to identify my item with you. I'm taking it back. You are telling me that I'm giving it to you. You give me back after so and so years.
Yeah. It's been the case, and it's not just about this particular case. That is why the UNESCO conventions came about in 1970, and there's been subsequent amendments to these UN conventions that over the years looked at these issues that we are battling with. Objects taken from countries during colonial rule, objects taken from countries in the cause of wars, and many others. So it goes beyond a specific case, and it's more international in terms of negotiations, in terms of settlement of objects, what's become popular as the restitution or the ascension of objects.
Are we able to put value on the items?
There has been value on the items, but it's very difficult to talk about these because it depends on who the valuer is and how the valuation is done. Some will look at the historical antecedent of it, going back to 115 years, and others will not. They will look at other aspects of the object. So it's different. The valuation could be different, and it's not by using the particular formula.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but these were put in a British museum. I don't know whether people paid money to as visitors to this museum to have a look at it. If they are returning, would that come with some kind of monetary compensation as well?
The thing about the British Museum is you enter free. Okay. You don't pay any money when you go to the British Museum.
Okay.
It's a business strategy they adopted. And why people are sometimes very worried about this policy is there are millions of objects in this museum from all over the world. Many of these objects in the museum haven't been exhibited for decades. In our case, even for over a century. And the question is, if you are not exhibiting them, they are not part of your permanent collection, your permanent display, it means that the value you attach to these objects are not very high. So why don't you give these objects back to the owners who place a bigger value on the objects? And that hasn't also happened for many years. So it's very difficult to understand. And the one reason why some feel that they want to have possession has to do mainly with the imperial history of England and the UK as a former global power. The ascension of these objects, for some, will deprive them of that imperial feeling of the past. And so they will prefer to, at least the mentality of empire will stick with them. And that is how some have argued or seen the situation. Otherwise, you are not making money out of this.
Right.
You have them in storage, you preserving them using very high-level conservation methods, which means that you are investing in these objects, putting in lots of money.
My final question.
But at the same time, you are not making much out of it.
Wait, my final question before I let you go. How excited is the Otumfuo about this, and will there be a special program to welcome the artifacts back?
I think they will be, when they do get in, they will come in a particular style. The directors of the British Museum, the Victoria and Albert, and some other UK museum directors plan visiting Kumasi for the first time officially between April and May. And this is not just about the objects, but a bigger framework for cultural cooperation between Menchia and these.
I guess it is coinciding with Otumfuo's 25th anniversary on the throne.
It's coinciding with that. It's coinciding with the 150th anniversary. It's also coinciding with the centenary of Prempeh's return from exile.
All right. Mr. Ajumendua, if I'm allowed to call Professor Ajumendua, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. And for your interest in these issues as well.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's stay a little longer on this matter because monarchical historian at the Menchia Palace, Safo Kantanka, is well abreast with issues regarding the subject, and he joins me on the telephone line for a chat. Nana Safo Kantanka, you're welcome to the Pulse.
Hello.
Nana, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So tell me the significance of these artifacts. 150 years.
Yeah. They have lots of values, what you may call significance, and as long as they exist, the significance are the same and will remain the same. We have physical value, seeing the thing for yourself, as the visual artist will see and admire. That is one value. Then we have the spiritual value. When we talk of spiritual value, we are talking about the relationship between something and our ancestors. That is between us and our ancestors, and all the sub-objects that we use and all the regalia that we use have special relation to us and to our ancestors. So it's of a spiritual value. Then it's of moral value. Moral because our form of art speaks volumes. So we have people who have to use special types of artworks. To dress, we need special art forms. To work within. So this is moral. You can tell from who is using what. That is the hierarchical order of the community, and whoever is using anything. You can tell from the moral works. You can also tell from the commercial aspect. When we put them at the museum, people pay to go and see. And paying to go and see is of spiritual, of physical, and of commercial significance. It also has an educational significance. That is the history. The history and philosophy behind our art forms give us a lot of education. It also has some legal aspects. That is the laws governing the art forms. It is for this reason that they say they are loaning it to us. So it is ours, to some extent, it's ours. Your own, and the law says it is not yours because it is a war booty. So here we also engage ourselves in the legal aspect of things. We also have the administrative aspect. Administration, because all the art forms are shared among special people within the Ashanti community or within the chieftaincy system. And there, everybody pays particular attention to whichever form of art and the way they have to manage its existence. So that is also administrative. There are very many other things that we can deduce or learn from these art forms. Those who carry the art forms away are not very conversant with the very meanings, the history, philosophy behind the art forms they are carrying. It is only lying there to tell them a little history about themselves, that they fought wars and they conquered things. It is also something to tell them that they are superior because they fought and seized these items. So to them, of very little value, but to us, of a very high value.
To about the spiritual significance of this to the Ashanti Kingdom.
Yes.
Yes, Nana, so I was just coming to ask you about the spiritual significance of the items to the Ashanti Kingdom.
Yes, the spiritual significance clear. They had spiritual significance before they were taken away. And it still remains with the artifacts. The spiritual significance remains with the artifacts. Spiritual because we know when to choose what types of art to use to decorate our body. And it communicates, a form of communication, spiritual communication to our spiritual world.
All right. Right. So I guess then we'll have to wait for the items to be brought back into the country. And from what Mr. Ajimandua says, between now and May, we will be waiting for it. Thank you very much, Nana Safo Kantanka. Is a historian with the Manhyia Palace, explaining the spiritual significance of the artifacts that the UK government has decided to loan to the Ashanti Kingdom after taking it away 150 years ago. This is the pause. We'll take a short break.
Crystal clear and thrilling podcast and live shows, download and listen to us on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, MyJoy Online, Amazon services like Echo, Amazon Music, and Audible, Stitcher, Adom Online, Overcast, and Pandora. Take note of everything. Sign up for the multimedia digital platforms now to stay updated.
The best gift you can give a loved one is good health. The Love FM Fitness Walk is the only platform which prevents this exclusive opportunity to walk with your friends, partner, granny, kids, abongo, empna, obia, ukunu, schoolmate, etc. to stay healthy. Banks, insurance companies, construction companies, hospitals, schools, security services, various fitness groups. Come and let's shake off the stress. Start looking for your walking kit and let's hit the streets of Kumasi to de-stress, exercise, and burn some calories. You can also send us a minute video. Shijama Kakra, Yedede Kakra, as cooperating institutions, groups, or individual declaring your readiness to partake in the walk. Stay with Love 99.5 FM and Ishra 104.5 FM and get more details on the walk or call 0245 594 425 for inquiries. Remember, Fitness Walk is on Saturday, 3rd February 2024 at the Kumasi City Mall, 6 a.m.
news. We've had news file over the weekend, and an interesting part of the conversation focused.
Oh no, we are out of range.
Oh, don't worry, Daddy. I have Alexa in my bag.
Alex, what?
Alexa, open Multimedia Ghana and play Joy FM.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Listen to Joy FM, Hits FM, Love FM, live on your Amazon Echo. Listen to your favorite multimedia radio stations live on your Amazon Echo device by saying, Alexa, open Multimedia Ghana, play Joy FM or Hits FM or Love FM. Or catch up on your favorite podcast by saying, Alexa, play, and then the name of your favorite podcast from Multimedia Ghana. For a list of all podcasts available, say Alexa. Ask Multimedia Ghana to browse programs.
On air. And we are back like we never lost signal.
Alexa, welcome to Multimedia.
As for the marriage, you get the certificate before you get into the marriage, so you don't know what is ahead of you.
What would make your partner walk out of the relationship?
Probably when he finds me cheating. I don't know.
So, come on, if you handle the body or what? What's his waist size? When I get home, I'll explain it. Also, Papa, 2 years or 4 and 3 years ago, I can say, I can't play.
And you want to go into politics? You want to go into politics? No, yes. No, yes.
Right. If you love me right.
So welcome back to the pulse, and a while ago we were talking about artifacts coming back from the UK, and it looks like 2 UK nationals have already come. They've taken the lead, and that's next on our plate. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders is one of the largest and most influential trade associations in the UK. It supports the interests of the United Kingdom automotive industry, both home and abroad, promoting the industry to government, stakeholders, and of course the media. It's been 5 days of these engagements and partnership. As the Auto Investor Mission ends today, it is suspected that meaningful partnership will be realized between the UK and Ghana, driving mutual prosperity between the two countries. The UK-Africa Investor Mission started on the 22nd of this month and ends today, Friday, 26th of January 2024. In the studio are 2 envoys from the United Kingdom to throw more light on the mission and its outcome and the state of the partnership engagement so far. I have in the studio Victoria Bolton-Smith, Invest Lead for JET Ghana, Jobs and Economic Transformation, and of course Matt Smith, Head, International Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders Limited. So let me start with you, Veronica. Veronica.
Yes, thank you.
Right, let me start with you. So tell us, give us a brief of what really this is all about.
What Ghana JET's about.
Right.
So Ghana JET stands for Jobs for Economic Transformation. It's a 5-year Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office program where we're really trying to support Ghana's move away from aid to trade and supporting Ghana's mandate essentially to industrialise. So we look at 3 core sectors, automotive industry, textile and garments and pharmaceuticals. And what we're trying to do is create jobs and also to spur economic investment. So we look to the international community to bring big-ticket anchor investors as well as supporting the SME base here in Ghana.
So how are you facilitating? Are you doing the facilitation? between the businesses and local partners?
Yes,
Is that what is happening now?
right.
How are you doing that?
So a number of ways. I mean, the first thing that we tried to do as a program is a 5-year program, so we're currently entering year 4. And what we've tried to do is look at things like policy and incentive framework to ensure that, those are the foundations for any investor to feel comfortable to invest in any country. So we really looked at that and supporting the work that Ministry of Trade and Industry does, as well as working very closely with the GIPC. And then ways in which we coordinate with investors is to reach out to them to share the policy updates. So as you know, Ghana's gone from 0 OEMs as of 2020 to now 11. So that was a direct result of the fantastic auto policy that was pushed through Parliament in 3 months.
Right.
So, these are indicators to investors that Ghana is ready for business and, sectors like the automotive industry are definitely open for business.
And already we have a lot of, big giants that have already set up assembling plants here in Ghana and then, producing for the local market, indeed, I'm sure, for the West African market. But Matt, how is the mission going?
It's going very well. Yeah, we've had an excellent week here. So we've met with government and policymakers. We've met with a number of the manufacturing companies. We've visited their sites. We've met with the Ghana Auto Development Centre. So we've got an excellent overview of the automotive sector in Ghana, and we're going to take that away and consider what the opportunities are for collaboration in future.
Perhaps I can just follow up and say, what has been the learning process?
Well, for me, it's my first time in Ghana. In my role, it's to look at the international opportunities for the UK automotive sector. So in the UK, we have one of the most open and international automotive sectors in the world. So we're very keen to collaborate internationally. So my objective for coming here was to understand the sector in Ghana better, to meet with some of your organisations, make links and find some opportunities for the future. And I think we've got quite a lot to take back with us.
And Veronica, I'm guessing that networking is key in this. So what is the strategy going forward?
So really it's as, engagements such as what we've had this week, the Auto Investor Mission, where we can bring interested parties who want to kind of seek business opportunities and partnerships. So we've arranged this investor mission over the last few months. And then we also organise webinars to share information on, policy updates, incentives and so on. And then we just are out in the market. We like to engage with the Ghanaian community in the automotive space. We work with the Ministry of Trade and Industry to, be on top of all of the latest trends and things that are happening.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's just a few ways.
But are there things already on the ground in terms of linking the international businesses to the local investors?
Yes, we have an office here where we try and, share the studies that we've drafted. So deep studies into, opportunities in specific areas of component manufacturing, for example. So there are ways in which organisations and businesses can coordinate with us on the ground here in Accra at our office, Palladium, and find out more information.
Right. So Matt, I don't know whether you've been following the governance of this country. In the last budget, government made it clear that the plan is to move to electric in terms of vehicles, and there's even incentive for those who want to own electric vehicles. Are companies in the UK taking advantage of this? What is the plan?
Well, we've heard a lot about Ghana's plan for the automotive sector overall, and there's been a lot of discussions this week about electric vehicles. Our experience in the UK, we've transitioned quite rapidly to electric vehicles in the UK. So in last year, it was 16.5% of our market, for example. What we're seeing in the UK, though, is that there's very important for government to support the market, as you've just said, with incentives for buyers, because these vehicles are expensive. But also to look at infrastructure, and that's absolutely crucial. So that's our experience in the UK, that it's key for government to roll out infrastructure for electric vehicles so that people can be confident that when they drive, they can charge in their destination.
It is something really new in Ghana.
Yes.
Exactly. So I don't know whether, since you've been in Ghana, you've driven around town, you hardly will come across an electric vehicle. Even though in recent past, I've seen some Tesla and a few others, entering the Ghanaian market. So as you follow the trends and then adapt, how are you dealing with this so that you are ahead of the game?
So we engage with, I think Matt mentioned already, the Automotive Development Centre. So really that's the heart of, and it's the one-stop shop where everyone will go for information about what's happening in the auto space, particularly in EVs. How do we stay on top of trends? Well, it's really about the consumer. They drive the demand. So if we're looking at the fact that they want more electric vehicles, we then need to lobby government to ensure that we have adequate infrastructure in place to to ensure that people can buy the EVs and be able to charge them. So we just engage with all of the kind of key stakeholders and then, try and see best practice in other markets and bring that here to Ghana.
And how are you hoping to capture them with the requisite knowledge so that they can inform themselves?
Through our engagements with MOTI and the Auto Development Centre, the GIPC, we will, sort of come out with statements and documentation that we can share with anyone interested. They'll go to the Automotive Development Centre to collect that information as well. So that would be the kind of key point for dissemination. And then also engage media like yourselves when we have announcements to make.
But Matt, from the government side, are there incentives for this area?
Well, we've heard about the development of the automotive policy in Ghana, and it's very encouraging to hear the early discussions going on about electric vehicles. But yes, incentives are important. As I said, there have been some incentives in the UK for electric vehicles that helps people take up. And we've also heard about, here in Ghana, about the policies that the government is looking to bring in to develop the sector.
I remember in the UK, you had a deadline that was revised recently.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit about it?
Well, in the UK, by 2030, 80% of the vehicles sold will be zero emission, and that's mandated by law. So we see that starting this year, manufacturers have to sell an increasing proportion of zero emission vehicles up to 2030. And then by 2035, there'll be no more traditional petrol or diesel engines sold, and it will be only zero emission electric vehicles in 2035.
That's really good news. But as you try to roll out these things, and you collaborate with Imbroka Invest, in terms of knowledge transfer, how are you doing it?
I think through a number of ways. I mean, we have working groups where we kind of bring in key stakeholders to kind of find out how we can ensure that... are you talking specifically about electric vehicles?
Right.
Yeah, so we'll look at things like vehicle finance, for example, which of course goes across the board. We'll talk around the regulation and the standards that are required. That's knowledge transfer. We look at how we can work with associations such as SMMT to understand how they've done it in the UK and what we can adopt here in Ghana. So we're out in the markets, and we plan to sort of engage with the governments of Thailand and other governments where they've successfully rolled out, policies for electric vehicles and so forth, and see what's best practice in the market and adopt those strategies.
I wanted to talk about education, but before I do that, energy is key in this particular area. I'm sure you've done your own homework. You think that West Africa, Ghana is ready for this revolution?
Well, as I understand it, Ghana has an excess of power on the grid. So yes, I think you probably have some of the key kind of conditions to have electric vehicles in the market. I've always been a great believer in making sure that Ghana can be a place where EV vehicles can be manufactured, because I still think, there are a lot of people in provincial areas and with road infrastructure that might struggle with EVs. I think they're perhaps definitely going to be very useful and needed in the cities. But I think that Ghana could perhaps indeed be a hub for EV manufacturing and with export opportunities.
And the incentive is there to encourage people.
Well, we're working on that.
In the last few days that you've engaged local partners, do you see enthusiasm?
Yes, certainly. I think with the recent finding of lithium in Ghana as well, there's a lot of discussion at the moment around how that can be used in terms of battery processing, battery manufacturing. So there is huge opportunities just in that space alone. We're very keen on value addition, so things such as that would make a lot of sense. And of course, these are the batteries that are used in electric vehicles, so yeah.
So Matt, how are you hoping to step up the education so that you can continually improve the skills and capacity of the people you are working with?
Well, we've come here this week to understand Ghana, to build relationships and get to know people and companies. So we've done quite a lot of that. This is just, it's my first time in Ghana, my first time looking at your automotive sector.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a very enjoyable visit. So we're looking to take those connections and the information that we've got back and to build on those partnerships in future.
So in terms of sustainability, Veronica, how is JETS hoping to sustain this in the future?
We knew this was a 5-year program, so it was made with the idea that we would, hand over best practice, the learnings over the 5 years, and ensure that we're working hand in glove with the government. So our key partners being Ministry of Trade and Industry and the GIPC. So we have, work with them every week, essentially, to ensure that, they're along the journey with us. They understand kind of the ways in which we need to draft policy, how we have to have deep dive studies so that we can then share that with investors so that they're clear on where the investment opportunities lie. In terms of sustainability, this is the best way to work with governments, I think, in a collaborative way, and to ensure that, you're constantly looking at new areas for development and you're supporting your partners on that journey.
And are you getting the needed cooperation from government?
Yes, we have a really strong relationship with the Ministry of Trade and Industry and with the GIPC and other partners. I mean, we work with GEPA and so on. And we've had great engagements. I think, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. We wouldn't be where we are today with 11 OEMs, which I believe we're currently ahead of South Africa in terms of the number of OEMs in country.
Okay.
So I think these kind of statistics, these kind of fantastic, markers that, 3 years ago, 4 years ago didn't exist, just goes to show the commitment of government and just how well programs like ours really work.
And final question so that I can share with the two of you in terms of looking into the future. And what kind of future do you see as far as EVs are concerned?
For EVs?
You're right.
Well, as I say, certainly, the climate is changing. We need to reduce our carbon emissions, and in the UK, the automotive industry is absolutely bought into that. So it is encouraging to see those early steps and discussions that are happening in Ghana. And I think as we see that automotive policy coming in and the market develops here, there's plenty of potential for the take-up of these vehicles in Ghana with the right support for the market and for the sector here.
Veronica?
What do I see for the future? I see job creation out of the growth of the automotive industry. It's very clear to me, having taken investors around this week, we had engagements with the Vice President. We've taken them across to Tema Enclave to have a look at automotive assembly there. It's clear that there's demand. People want these fantastic cars that are currently being assembled. But there's also a big interest in Ghana-made cars. So I think the future is a mixture of ensuring that we can encourage our international automotive companies to come here, but equally well, we're supporting the likes of Kantanka. And the program has been doing that. You might know Kantanka, who are a Ghana auto manufacturer, manufacturing the likes of pickups and so on. So we actually took them out to Cairo to go and meet with investors. And our mission really is to support the local industry as well. So it's great. I see the future of Ghana very much buying Ghana-made cars. So
Great.
that's the hope. Yeah.
Right. So Matt, what memories are you carrying with you as you go back to the UK?
A very busy week, some very interesting visits. I've enjoyed your jollof rice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, and...
have you had Nigeria's own?
I haven't, no.
He doesn't want to.
I don't need to now.
Just stay with the Ghana one.
No, I'm taking back memories of a very interesting visit, lots of friendly people, a very warm welcome.
And Veronica, what memories are you carrying with you?
Well, for me, this is, I think, my 11th or 12th time in Ghana.
Oh, nice,
so
nice.
I'm a veteran.
I was going to give you a Ghanaian name.
Please do. I'm happy to take it. Look, every time I come, there's always something new happening, another building cropping up, another road being constructed. It's the indicator, again, of a country that's on the move, that's growing. And I think it's really exciting to see how quickly and how seriously the government takes policy, because without it, we wouldn't have investments here. And we've all suffered during COVID and so on. And I think these 3 years after COVID, 4 years after COVID, we're now seeing, just the level of interest in the Ghanaian market. So it's exciting.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. And it's been nice speaking to you. And I hope that this, as the bill, the law that was passed by Parliament is about to take off very well, so that the needed employment will be created. That, for me, is my motivation in all of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it for this week's edition of The Pulse. Hopefully Monday we'll be back between 3 and 5. Until then, you have a good weekend. My name is Elton Robbie.